Hello, this is Matthew with truckhealthy.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make healthy spaghetti and meatballs. Several portions of it. You can freeze them, take them out when you need them. First things first, let's go ahead and line our work area, which in this case is my bed, with plastic wrap. Alright, now we're ready to get started. Let me go ahead and show you the ingredients. So here's what we're using today. Some gloves, latex gloves, plastic gloves, since we're going to be handling raw meat. I am using 1 pound of ground turkey. It is 10% fat. You can get it with lower fat. I'm using the 10% to add a little bit of flavor and help the meatballs to stick together a little bit better. Thin spaghetti, Italian breadcrumbs, a sharp knife, spaghetti sauce, 1 small onion, minced garlic, and various spices: black pepper, salt, ground basil, cayenne pepper, because I like mine a little bit spicy, crushed red pepper, rubbed sage, and oregano. Here I'm just sanitizing the Instapot. After I'm done cooking something, I'll wipe it down the best I can, spray bleach water in there, wipe it down again. But this helps since I don't have a sink to use. Doing this ensures that it's going to be sanitized. I just put the water in there. Put it on a high setting. After we've sanitized our Instapot with a little bit of water and just turn it on high, dump out the water, and now we're ready to go. The first step is, of course, to boil your spaghetti. Now, the way to do that in the Instapot, however many minutes it says to boil it, here it says 8 minutes. Just cut that in half, maybe a little bit more, on high pressure, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead, dump our noodles into the Instapot, and I will come in here and just break them in half. Next, we add enough water to cover it, and then some. Enough water to cover it, and then double that. And also, what I like to do is to add a little bit of salt. It keeps the noodles from sticking. So add the salt. Now, close the lid on it. Some Instapots are different. I used to have the small one. The settings were a little bit different. But basically, you want to go to pressure cook, pressure level, high, and we're going to set the minutes. Since it said 8 minutes on the package, we're going to go with 6 minutes just to play it safe. So now we're going to let our noodles cook, our noodles boil. And after that, we will go ahead and prep the meat. I should have said while our noodles are cooking, we will go ahead and prep the meat. And that's what we're going to do now. So, first, since we're handling raw meat in the truck or anywhere, I always put on gloves. And these are just cheap, disposable gloves. These happen to be latex gloves. You can get them even cheaper buying the thin plastic gloves, usually at Walmart for under $1. But because of everything that's going on right now with the coronavirus, they were sold out. This is all I could find. So first, let's go ahead, cut up our turkey. Not cut it up, cut it out of the package. All right, And before I start cutting up my onion, what I'm going to do, since this is raw meat, I always keep a spray bottle with bleach and water in my truck. Now's a good time to spray a little bit on a paper towel and just clean your knife off with it, since our knife will not be touching raw meat anymore. Okay, so that's good to go. And now we're only going to use about a half of an onion here. So this is how I cut up an onion, without a cutting board and without a kitchen. Just peel the outer layer off, get rid of the skin. There we go. So, like I said, we're going to use about half of this. The other half we can store in a little baggie for our next cooking project. So for cutting up the onion, of course, I don't use a cutting board. I just do the best I can. If this were a soup or anything else, I would cut it up in bigger pieces. But since these are going to be a part of the meatballs here, I'm going to try to get them as small as I can. And I do that by slicing it and then slicing it in half and then cutting it against the grain like that to get smaller pieces. And that's about all we want. You can get a couple of the bigger pieces, cut them up, but that's about the best we can do without taking up too much time, and that's about all we need. So now at this point I will take off the gloves and go to my seasoning. For the oregano, I just kind of eyeball it, however much you think is right. 8 or 10 dashes of the oregano. Sage is a little bit stronger. I'm just going to go with a little pinch of that, actually, of the rub sage, just a little pinch. Crushed red pepper. I'm going to be pretty generous with this. That might be better just to take off the top and measure it out like that. Alright. Basil leaves. Again, another strong one, so just a couple of dashes. Cayenne pepper. Again, I like my food spicy, so I'll be pretty generous with this. Now, for the minced garlic, I'm going to get a spoon. Garlic adds a lot of flavor, so again, I am definitely going to be generous with this. A nice heaping spoonful right on top of the meat there. So now what I do at this point, put on a fresh pair of gloves. And at this point, you can go ahead and add some of the Italian breadcrumbs. Okay, maybe about a half of a cup will work. This just helps to keep the meatballs together. I also recommend adding a raw egg. That's something I forgot to get while I was at Walmart the other day. So if you have a raw egg, or if you add it to your list to make this, put it on your list for sure. You want a raw egg. So now I'm just going to knead all of this together. And again, this is where this plastic wrap comes in handy. You're not getting all this mess all over your bed or your work area. We'll go ahead now, add our onions. And just knead it all together until it is fully formed and fully mixed. I see at this point that I should have added more breadcrumbs. So, take off the gloves, throw them away, and let's add more breadcrumbs. Put on a fresh pair of gloves and continue to mix them together. Once that's all mixed together and you've got it good, we're going to go ahead and make our meatballs now. So the plate that you cut the onions up on, we can use that to set them on. Knead them together like so until you have a good looking meatball. Oh. Okay, so now we have our meatballs made up, and at this point we just wait for the noodles to finish boiling, and I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to clean up the area here. Put away the ingredients we don't need anymore. And just for good measure, since we were handling raw meat, I will go ahead and spray some more of my bleach water on a paper towel and be sure to clean off my knife. So now, that's the whole purpose of this plastic wrap. We save our work area from getting dirty, from getting contaminated food. Just wrap it up and throw it away. There you have it. The noodles are done boiling now, and what I'm going to do is let them cool enough so I can go out behind my truck and drain the water out. I've got the noodles drained, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and line my bed again with plastic wrap. And I'm going to put the noodles on the styrofoam plate while we cook our meatballs and sauce. This is one of the few times I'll actually use a styrofoam plate because the paper plates are more inexpensive. So, we've got our drained noodles. We're just going to dump them right on top of the styrofoam. We're not going to worry about it spilling over a little bit. It's just fine. We've got the plastic down, and they're there just temporarily until we get our meatballs cooked. Let's do that now. For our meatballs, what I'm going to do is add just a little bit of water to keep them from sticking. And I figure water's better than oil. So, just a little bit of water. And now, we take our meatballs that we prepared earlier, dump them straight in, dispose of the plate, put the lid on, and we're going to go ahead and go with the meat stew selection. Set that, and we'll let that cook for maybe about 10 minutes, 7 minutes. Check on it, make sure they're done, and then we're gonna add our sauce and dump our noodles back in there, and then we'll be ready to eat. And while our meatballs are cooking, to prevent them even more from sticking, just take the pot, shake it around a little bit, and these meatballs are not going to take long at all to cook in this Instapot. Check on them after about 5 minutes, see where they're at. So our meatballs are done at this point. It didn't take very long. You can always cut one open just to make sure. And yes, they are cooked all the way through. So, what we're going to do now is add your spaghetti sauce of choice. I always like to add a little bit of water to it. Put the lid back on. Shake it up. Put it in there. And what we're going to do, give it a good stir. Now we're going to set the Instapot on to, it should have a saute. There it is. Set it on saute. And we're going to let that cook a little bit longer with the lid off, sauteing. Stir every now and then. If you'd like, taste it, see if it needs anything. And I might actually add a little bit of salt, pepper, maybe a little bit more basil. Just taste it, season it to your preference. After this, after it simmers, sautés, we're going to add the noodles back in. Then we're going to be ready to eat. So it looks like our meatballs and sauce have sauteed long enough. They're well done. It's heated up. Added a few more spices to my liking, and now it's time to turn it off and to serve it. To serve it, what I'm going to do for my first serving, since I'm eating one now, since I'm going to eat some now, what I'm going to do is go ahead. Here's our spaghetti that we boiled earlier. What I can go ahead and do, I will put some of that directly onto a plate. and that's a big portion, but I haven't eaten much all day long. I had a salad earlier and a few pistachios, and that's it. It's about 6 p.m. here. I got my exercise in, so I'm hungry. So I'm gonna eat this, then I'll go to bed. I've got a long drive tomorrow. Take it and just spoon it directly onto the noodles. So, this looks really delicious. It's going to be good. What I'm going to do now, I've got my sauce and meatballs. I've got my noodles here. I've got about 5 good servings left of this. I'm going to dump the noodles directly in here. Now, I actually saved this plate for something else. That's how I am. I try to get as much for my dollar as I can. Stir the noodles in here. Our spoon broke. That's okay. Take a fork, mix it around a little bit. And this is too hot to portion out and freeze. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to portion it out and I'm going to freeze it. It's too hot for that now. In the morning time, I'm going to let this sit all night long in my truck here. Once it gets to room temperature in the morning before I start driving, I will put on a glove and I will scoop out a portion it up into thick plastic baggies and freeze it. Then whenever I want some spaghetti and meatballs, I just heat it right back up. This is a great, easy meal you can do in your truck. It's much better than going into the TA or to some other place. They charge you 4 or 5 times what it costs to make, and the portions are way too big. You get a bunch of stuff you don't need. This is a great way to spend some time, and it's easy. Thanks for watching, and there's plenty more to come. I forgot to mention one more note. If you go to my website, truckhealthy.com, you can get this recipe in a very easy to read way. It's laid out very nicely, very easy to read with clear instructions. Maybe unlike this video. But I still appreciate you watching. I hope this inspires you to hit a grocery store, hit a Walmart, buy your own groceries, stop giving these folks in the truck stop your money. Okay? Because they take advantage of us. They charge us way more than anywhere else because we don't have anywhere else to go. That's usually the case. Again, thanks for watching. Be safe out there.